On YouTube, there are many videos of ground troops cheering on A-10 planes, providing close air support. In fact, the A-10 is so popular with the troops that it is very hard for the Air Force to retire it. Contrast this with the way procurement people think about their CEOs. Many of them are scared about the CEO meeting the CEO of a supplier. A CPO recently told me that she really does not want her CEO to talk to suppliers. He is uninformed, she said, and he will make promises that she will not be able to keep. In this video, I will talk about how to orchestrate the ground game of procurement with the air game provided by the CEO. Let's get started. In one of my recent videos, I talked about the Pareto Approach and specifically the focus program for A suppliers. The Pareto Approach is based on one key insight. Abstract commodities or categories don't give you savings, suppliers do. With the Pareto Approach, we make procurement personal for suppliers. And as shown here, we are starting with segmenting suppliers into about 20 to 40 A suppliers representing 50% of the spend, 100 to 200 B suppliers, and thousands of C suppliers. The focus program elevates the discussion to supplier CEO level. In the focus program, your CEO asks the CEO of A suppliers for an upfront commitment to double savings this year. In return, your CEO offers to assist the CEOs of A suppliers in making the joint business with your company more profitable. I think it is pretty clear that in the focus program for A suppliers, hoping that the CEO stays away is not an option. As a CPO, you should think of your CEO as the leading actor and of yourself as the director. Don't expect your lead actor to write the screenplay or the lines. You need to have a clear view of what the focus program for A supplier should achieve for your company and what it should achieve for each of your A suppliers. And you need to give clear roles to your cast members. I found it useful to think about the main activities in the focus program for A suppliers as ground game and air game. The ground game is something your procurement team does. The air game is something that your CEO does. Of course, there are many detailed activities, but I think there are 4 key ones that will determine the success of your focus program. It all starts with a convincing narrative that you and your procurement team will have to develop for each of your A suppliers. The narrative will need to explain to the supplier CEO why they should sign up for the focus program. The supplier CEOs need to see a path to reap benefits from the program that are greater than the upfront commitment to double savings to your company. There will be no one-size-fits-all solution for this task. You will need to do this specifically for each of the A suppliers. If you and your team succeed in developing convincing narratives, your CEO will feel comfortable about reaching out to the CEOs of your A suppliers. With these narratives, your CEO can start the task of agenda setting. Agenda setting has the objective of gaining mindshare in the supplier's boardrooms. You may only account for 5 to 10% of your supplier's revenue, but that does not mean that you should only have 5 or 10% of your supplier's mindshare. Why can't you have 20 or 30% of the mindshare? As a rule of thumb, the more time your supplier spends thinking about you and not about your competitors, the better for you. If the narrative is convincing and your CEO does a good job of agenda setting, you should quickly arrive at a point where you make mutual commitments. Your supplier commits to double savings, you commit to specific actions that help your supplier become more profitable. In this process of negotiations and converging views, your CEO again will have to play a pivotal role. I have seen bad and good examples here. A bad example is a CPO who got stuck with one of the biggest suppliers and escalated to his CEO. He kind of expected his CEO to step in and close the deal for him. The CEO agreed to help and soon found himself entangled in a negotiation he was not prepared for and probably also not equipped for. When I looked at the resulting mess, it became evident that the narrative had been pretty poor. Effectively, the CPO had provided a bad screenplay with bad lines to the CEO. The right way of doing this is doing your homework. Develop a well-researched and convincing narrative to your CEO, and don't drag the CEO down into the ground game. Ask your CEO to play an effective air game that supports the closing part of the negotiations. There's so much your CEO can do. Your CEO should let ASA players know what is expected of them today, in a year from now and 5 years from now. Great CEOs fire on all media cylinders and use interviews with print and TV, as well as YouTube, LinkedIn and other social media channels to get the message out to suppliers. And suppliers do listen. But you as a CPO shouldn't expect your CEO to come up with these messages out of thin air. You should write the screenplay and provide the lines to your CEO. Then you will see your procurement team members cheer on the CEO as if your CEO was swooping in on an A10 saving the day. Now it is your turn. In the comments down below, let me know to what extent your company is playing a well-orchestrated ground and air game. Should you have a question, I will get back to you within 24 hours. And if useful, I may even respond with a dedicated video. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next video. Bye!